My husband had made a decision to kill everybody in the family, but I didn't know. My husband had not beaten me. Actually, he cut me. He went, bought a sword, and he cut me. He had cut me into small pieces on my head, my face, all these scars that you see.
Her husband of 10 years would go after his own children too, all the while making frantic calls to relatives and friends.
The final phone call that made me tremble under the bed was my dad's call. He never used to joke with my dad. He had that respect of a son-in-law to a father-in-law. And he used to call my father Mzee. So he called my dad, Mzee, nimemuua. I think my father asked Nani. But you know, we are still in conversation with my dad under the bed using the SMS. So he told my dad, msichana wako, tayarisha jeneza 4. You see, my mother-in-law was to prepare for graves. Now my dad is to prepare for coffins. Ninataka kuua wajukuu wako, alafu nijiue. Mzee, tayarisha jeneza 4. All this, I'm under the bed. I'm hearing everything.
It would all end tragically.
He killed himself immediately. I left the house. He cut his small intestines. The same knife he wanted to use on the children.
The experience only making Diana stronger.
Nobody will ever abuse a widow in my presence. And that is what I have been doing.
35-year-old Diana Kamande is a mother of 2 girls. When her husband attacked her and later killed himself, she wanted to heal not just the physical wounds, but the emotional ones too, that were still raw.
I thought I was prepared.
And so she reads. Confessions of a Mediocre Widow is a favorite book that she reaches out for every too often. Heartbroken, yet another memoir on widowhood that she says has striking parallels to her own story. I'm looking at some of your literature and it feels dark, like the mediocre widow, heartbroken. Why these titles?
From the time I became a survivor of domestic violence and a widow, I started the journey of putting something into writing. And they are guiding me, and also they are encouraging me. And I have been able to know that widows all over the world have been through hell.
As her story was told by numerous media organizations and thousands came to know of her plight, a special stranger reached out with a special message.
And she invited me to her home. Inviting a stranger, you've learned of her story on the papers. And she cancelled me. And after that, what she did, she removed the victim mentality out of me. From a victim of domestic violence, now I was a survivor.
With that, she was well equipped to reach out to members of Come Together Widows and Orphans organization that she founded. Some of the stories shared here are heartbreaking. Stories of widows forced out of their husband's property, others who were expected to be cleansed and even inherited. Often, they felt alone and without a law to safeguard their interests. Some have had to start building a foundation upon which they would start their lives afresh, far from their in-laws. So, what about the law? There is not a clear one that safeguards their interests, but they are hinging their hopes on the protection of Widows and Widowers Bill that they believe will sail through once in Parliament because they say they have done their homework well.
Our leaders in government, our leaders in opposition, you are all surrounded by widows and widowers. Tuendelee kuomba zaidi ili mswada wetu usiangushwe.
Here, they are free to discuss anything from the dress code to the numerous classes of widows that only they know exist.
Who is the complaining widow here?
Nyaboke amesema ni complaining widow.
I'm complaining.
Anajua kujipigilia skin tight.
Some of the things shared here are personal, yet critical, and one of them is the notion that single women are always on the prowl, eyeing the next male, a notion that has some of them marked for discrimination.
The neighbors who saw me as a threat to their husbands.
Oh, you were seen as a threat?
I was a threat.
Why?
I've never believed in putting on a kitamba and rubber shoes and that what do they call that long dress because I am a widow. No,
Was that the expectation?
That is not them. It is the expectation of every married woman, no matter the community she comes from. You are a widow and go and put on a kitamba. You should not dress well. You should not wear makeup.
And as they leave one by one, I am amazed by their desire to influence policy so that no other widow is discriminated against. Diana says this is the beginning to many good returns. She is walking the personal journey of widowhood and holding another widow's hand. For Citizen Weekend, I am Anne Mawade.